right. So tell me a little bit first, just so I can get introduced to you and everyone can get introduced to you about your plans and ideas for business, or why you're interested in even, I guess, doing this workshop with us.
Sure. So, well, my name is Leslie, and along with my daughter, we created Original Seed Beads,
Mm.
and so it's mainly it's beadwork. I started beading when my daughter was about 3. She just turned 10 last week, so I've been beading about 7 years. And I started because she went to this program. It's called Aboriginal Head Start here in Toronto, and a group of parents and I we were wanting to like do some programs with our children and with the parents, and so we decided to make our children's first regalia. And I hadn't had a lot of experience with sewing, and I made her dress and her shawl, and it turned out really well, better than expected. So that kind of like encouraged me to keep going. Like let's do other accessories for her regalia. So I started beading. I went to Michael's, picked up some beads, some needles, some things that I thought that I would need, and I made her accessories. So I made her a belt, some hair ties, a barrette, and it turned out well. I was very, very happy with it. Um, and I'm still very happy with it. But obviously now looking back, the technique and my skills and everything has improved a lot. But that was kind of like my first introduction with beading. And ever since then, I've kind of just like really enjoyed it. And as over the years of my skills have improved, a lot of people ask me, do you sell your beadwork? And I never really wanted to sell it. I really just did it for like the love of it, for the enjoyment of it. And yeah, so I just like started, accumulating stuff or giving stuff away. And I think about maybe a year ago, um, I decided, I came up with this idea um, to start selling the beadwork, but not me, because like I don't personally want to sell my beadwork, but I thought it was a really, really great opportunity for my daughter to learn more about business and being her own boss and being more like self-sufficient, so that when she grew up, she didn't have to be at a point where, she has to work a minimum wage paying job. Um, and, I didn't want that for her. So our first vendor spot, I guess. Well, our second one was at the Ryerson powwow. And so, we had our little table set up, and she was like so good. She's so like friendly and outgoing. She was talking to all the people who came by, telling them about her products and everything else. And like I was so proud of her. So it's more of an online thing, but it was really just a way to give my daughter like an opportunity to see more for herself as a young girl.
Wow, that's incredible. The joy that I just saw on your face when you talked about her,
Yeah.
and how proud you are of her, and how well she did in that like people selling
Yes.
scenario. I love that, seeing that joy on your face. So it must bring you,
For
that's
sure.
clearly where your passion and your joy comes from at this, is our children do that for us. But just seeing it on your face, that was just such a wonderful experience. Thank you for sharing. So this is awesome. So you've now created this online business that it's your daughter's beadwork business, but you're guiding and directing her, obviously, because she is only 10 years old, but sounds very mature and capable. And I love that, because what a wonderful gift to give to our children is to show them how to literally create their own economic security, right?
Right.
Yeah. And like you
Hard.
said, in
Sorry.
no, that's okay. Um, the minimum wage is not a living wage. That is not how anyone could survive. So I
Exactly.
absolutely adore your plan and your vision for your daughter and for your own family. That's amazing.
And also, like, a big part of it is, yes, like the minimum wage thing, but also like financial security. So from all of her sales, she gets to like earn 20%, and then she puts the rest in savings so that, like, she can have fun and reward herself with the work, because she does do work. I do the beading, but when it's time to like take the pictures and post the sale stuff, like, she does all that. So she pays herself, but she also has to save.
That's amazing. Excellent advice for parents to teach their children. I know for many of us, like I grew up without, I think, the direction or instruction of how to work with money. It's unfortunate because money gets a bad rap. Like everybody, it's got, that connotation that the root of all evil is money. There's a lot of misinformation in that because it's the desire for money that's where the evil, I think, could come from. It could come from where things like greed and materialism, but actually money is a powerful tool when used correctly. And if we manage our own heart condition towards money, then we'll feel safe surrounding it. So teaching, you're doing an excellent job as a mom, just because I think it's amazing to teach them these things. And these are,
what's funny is you bring that up about, like, it's really what you do with your money. So, as things have progressed, I've talked to her about, like, you are in a position where you have everything that you need, you're taken care of, but there are other people who don't. And so we set aside like some money out of her sales to like give back to other people too, who need, financial assistance.
Wow, that's amazing. Amazing. I love it all.
Yeah.
So we are going to talk about marketing and the importance of building a marketing strategy, campaign, calendar around having online businesses. As much as it is a fun hobby and it probably doesn't feel like a ton of work because it is so enjoyable right? When you begin to build a plan and some structure around all of those things that you're doing, you will even see more success. And this will be an excellent tool as well. I think as an entrepreneur myself, and what my kids watching me build a business, that's a powerful message that you will be able to share with your daughter as well, about planning things out for success. So and that involves marketing. So I just wanted to share my screen with you a little about and use some terminology that I just want to make you familiar with from the beginning. So when brands are talking about their brand assets, that's generally meaning the videos, the pictures you take for Instagram, and all of those things that really speak to you and the brand. And one way to help you make sure that everything feels cohesive when you're sharing things on social media or on your website or however your whatever tools you're using to sell. I don't know, do you use Shopify as a platform to sell your stuff online, or is it just directly through DMs?
Yeah, it's directly through DMs.
Okay, well, and then this is a good guideline or conversation as well to think about expanding, right? You could eventually now transition a lot of those pictures you've taken online and use them in your e-commerce store using a platform like Shopify or Wix, or there's so many available. So what we did at Cheekbone Beauty is we created something called our brand guidelines. So just to give you an idea, we have the hex codes for each and every one of these shades from what we call our digital beadwork, which you'll notice is on our packaging, it's on our website, and it's on our social media. We have our logo and fonts as well. So we talk about the logo, how we like it placed, the spacing, all of those sorts of things, the different types of font we use. And we share with people sort of this wouldn't be acceptable way to place our logo or use it. And then here's the typography, which is we all just call fonts, that we use and are acceptable. And then these are sort of just the messaging and some more details about the meaning and things behind our brand and icons that we use. So when you create a file like this, it's just handy for you to always look to. And a hex code is literally just a code that is the number of the color, right? So you can literally, go, and it's called the selection of colors. You can find or use a board, maybe using Pinterest to make a board, just to start playing around and thinking about all of these sorts of details about the brand that you're trying to create, and then come up with your brand colors and your fonts and all those things and create a brand deck so that when you're building your online business, you can have it can remain cohesive and look familiar, because what you want when you're building something is for customers to remember you, and that's how we remember most brands, is by their logos, right? But then you'll also know that there's a sense of feeling around the colors and the words and the language and all of those things that they use. And then we go a little bit deeper. This file doesn't have it, but we also use a culture guide, and that means just the language we use even on social media about how we talk about things, just because you're really trying to create your own community, essentially, right, of people that love your beadwork and want to follow everything that you're doing. And what's the name of your Instagram page for your beadwork, just so I can?
Original Seed Beads.
At Original Seed Beads. So when people become familiar with, oh my goodness, and I'm like, now I'm sitting here like as a marketer, I have so many amazing ideas because you use the word seed, and I love that analogy of life in general when we think about seeds and how planting good seeds. So you picked an amazing name because you can start to work and create your beautiful brand deck and guidelines of building out your brand and business. So this is just sort of, again, planting the seed for building a good business. You need a solid foundation. And what brand guidelines and brand decks do for companies and businesses and even small businesses is they give you a solid foundation to work from. So, and you could totally do this with your daughter, which I think is amazing. You guys could sit on Pinterest and say, what colors do you think our brand should be, and incorporate those in. And it could be a lot of fun for you guys to do this together. So that's just the first step I always suggest for any small new business, because when you're building, you again want that solid foundation of a look and feel. And the earlier you do that, I think the more successful you'll be, and the easier it will be for you to start coming up with that creative sort of marketing plan and ideas. And then the next thing we do is, I will jump in, actually, is so just creating calendars. So using whatever sort of functions you use, whether if you're using Google or you're using Word documents or your own sort of calendar system, just having an idea every day or every other day how often you're going to choose to post about your business, and putting in the idea of what you want to talk about and pre-planning that. So for instance, for the month, we would always put, say on Fridays, we call them Feel Good Fridays at Cheekbone Beauty. We're going to post a comment about something that is going to help and hopefully for everyone in our community, make them feel better. So we come up with like a little tagline or a concept for each day of the week. And then we generally will build our posts surrounding that. And what we've done and found to be very successful is using our community to repost pictures. So that takes time though, because you want to build up your community base, and then you want obviously people that are wearing your beadwork in pictures, so and customers to tag them. So when you're doing shows or vending, whenever that comes back, I know we're missing that in our communities right now, but you can tell the customer that please tag us on social media, create little, using Vistaprint. Are you familiar with Vistaprint?
Yes.
Yeah, so using them to create little postcards and making sure that your Instagram handle is there, so that you could say just share your pictures with our jewelry at your Instagram handle, right? And then at Original Seed Bead, so that people will then start generating that content for you, which has truly been, for Cheekbone Beauty, one way that we've grown our business was it's all been about the community and people sharing and wearing our products. So we'll just go through some steps right now, and to make this easier. Okay, so we talked about the brand assets. So logo, those sorts of things, the brand color palette, the fonts, and how that relates to your packaging and design. So that's something to think about, again, for when you're creating how you're wrapping or sending the beadwork when you're completed it, or the postcard you're designing. All of those brand assets can all be related and used on sort of multimedia, multi-level surfaces as well, right? The photography, and it's super easy right now. If you have a decent phone, it generally comes with a pretty decent camera. So that part is awesome. And then creating templates so that your social media and your print collateral are feel the same as well. So templates you can create on platforms like Canva. Are you familiar with Canva?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Perfect. And so Canva, for anyone else watching, or is a graphic design platform that makes it very easy, subscription based, but you can go in and create amazing social media posts using it, and uploading your own images to make pictures. And then you could also create documents that you want to send to Vistaprint to have printed, like your postcards or business cards or those sorts of things, right? And so next part, which is really, really, really important, where we at Cheekbone from the beginning, I'm not sure, has anyone ever asked you, who is your target customer?
No one's asked me that, but I've thought about it.
Oh, that's awesome. See, I love that you've thought about that already. So that is a really important thing to think about. And what we did, and then later on what I discovered, is many big companies have this, and we call it our company avatar at Cheekbone Beauty. And it's an avatar of a person that is our target customer. So the person we're designing all of the social media ads for, the person we're sort of speaking to, the person you're making the beadwork for, or for us, the person we're like launching a new shade for. We think of that one person, and we created a document. So much like your brand deck, create a separate document now, and you can call it your Original Seed Bead avatar. You can come up with a name for the person. So this is where your brand's going to decide, is this gender neutral, or who is this person? And you would literally talk about all of, like, we in our document, for us, this person is a woman. Her name is Isabel, and she is a vegan. She lives in Toronto. She has a career in marketing for a beer company. Her husband's name is Tristan. They have 2 dogs, no children. They're in their early 30s. And we've like literally detailed list, like what she does on Saturday mornings to what she does on Monday nights, like going to a yoga class, and sort of all of, so we have this like description of this person that we've made up, a muse or an avatar. And it's so important to design that person, because then it really helps you stay so focused on building and creating beadwork for that individual. And then what will happen is you'll notice that because you're so focused and understand your customer or the person you're serving so well, people will become more attracted to what you're doing, because they can feel and sense how much you took and cared into thinking about who the target market is for. And where a lot of small businesses get lost and think they're going in the right direction, so many of us early on say, well, who are you making this for? Well, we're making it for all people. Like, we could say anyone can wear our makeup, anybody can wear our lipstick. But I have discovered through advice from another person in marketing, when we did this, it was so powerful that you're just creating it and targeting it on that person. And what happens is you eventually get an overflow of more people attracted to your brand because you're so focused on your target. So hopefully that makes sense. But I think that the fact that you're already thinking about that and doing it, and Pinterest, another great spot, create that person on a board there as well, like pull up images of her, colors she likes, clothing she likes, style, because Pinterest is the best that you can create all these boards and they can be private, right? So no one else can see what you're doing. So that's a tool to use that. And then when you have that figured out, it's really, really interesting. So for us at Cheekbone Beauty, we of course are an Indigenous owned brand, and our purpose and our mission and vision, you're still such an early company, so no one expects you to understand your mission and vision, but the more you can start to think about that, again, the clearer the direction of your business will be. So our mission and vision is helping every Indigenous kid on the planet see and feel their enormous value in the world while crafting sustainable color cosmetics. And we are focused on that cause, that purpose. We ask, as a business, we think about everything that we're doing, from a post to a donation to a project to this conversation I'm having with you. How will meet this empower Indigenous youth? That's the question we ask for everything that we do. And it makes our job easy because we're so focused on our why, the reason. And so when creating Isabel, that is actually our original avatar. We have two. So Isabel was our first, and we created a second, and her name is Nikita. And the reason we did that was we realized, of course, as a cosmetics brand and as a brand, we didn't want it to be in terms of culture, like only Indigenous women are going to wear our makeup. We made it so that all women, no matter what your skin tone is, that's the goal. We were a product that for anybody that could wear it. And it wasn't just for women, it's for men as well. But we're getting better at figuring out how to target those things. But so our original target way back when we started this, which was in 2015, was Isabel. And then in 2016, we created Nikita. And what we found was the concept of building, and this came to me as really early on when I was still working just by myself on the project, how important it is to tell Indigenous stories, but we were telling them from an Indigenous perspective, but you're wanting the non-Indigenous community to hear. And so much of what we were building as a business early on was speaking about this underfunding that happens with Indigenous education, and how are we going to tell that story to non-Indigenous people? We found that it's almost like, in this sense, we're like, okay, these are really uncomfortable conversations we're trying to have as we're selling just lipstick at the end of the day. But we made it kind of like it was an easier transition to have that conversation with a person like an Isabel, who is a person. And part of our avatar with Isabel is she cares in her heart about social justice issues. She is an activist and will be at activist rallies or protests. So that was part of Isabel's character. Like, she cared about those things. She cares about women's rights. She cares about humans' rights. And then we found, by also creating a Nikita avatar, that was our Indigenous consumer, and she would then share her stories from an Indigenous perspective and lens, and the Isabels of the world would then be attracted to our brand through the Nikita character. And so this is like, it's almost like I think you're like planning out a movie or a sense, and directing and creating characters in a novel. And it was a lot of fun to do that, but you're really doing that to try to figure out who's going to be attracted to your business, because then that helps you as a business make products that will serve the people in your communities. And so I hope I didn't ramble on about too much about that, but it's a really important task.
That kind of surprised me, that your first avatar would be a non-Indigenous person. because of what like Cheekbone Beauty kind of like stands for and like the mission, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so the reason, yeah, so early on, the reason we did that is where I'm like, how are we going to tell this story? Because I'm Indigenous, and all of us in our community, we know about the injustice. We know about the underfunding. The people that I needed to know were non-Indigenous. And so that was the thought pattern early on. And then realizing, no, it's realizing and then seeing who's coming to your community. And it was our customers, and it was our Indigenous women that were coming. And then that's where I was like, and I created Nikita after actually the name comes from a real first customer and first influencer, and she's from Calgary. And I thought, okay, this is what I was seeing. So then you're looking online, I'm seeing that she's a university student, and she has a group of friends that are some Indigenous, some non. And then now they're listening to her stories and her, I guess, worldview through this Indigenous lens. And that is where the character in this sort of story we were trying to write was the Isabel and her were actually friends. And what we wanted as a business is how do we keep attracting both of them? But it's obviously we don't want to attract every woman in the world or every man in the world. We want to attract people that care about Indigenous issues. And so that's where we found this harmony now between these two characters that we were building products for. If that makes any sense. Yeah, but I think our focus, because our mission and vision is strictly about Indigenous youth, right? That is our mission and vision and the core. And so that's where we could see our Indigenous community was so attracted to our brand because of our mission and vision, and the non-Indigenous together. And it's really this interesting thing now. The majority of our business, we still don't know exactly who all of our customers are, because I feel we have no way of asking them, and I don't know if I feel right asking people, who are you and where do you come from, right? Like, why are you buying our product? Which is, I think all brands, big brands, they do ask those things and they want to know. But what we're seeing from, I guess, an outside view is this incredible group of people that are Indigenous, and then it would be the non-Indigenous people that are really caring about Indigenous issues. And some may just be learning and still be learning and listening, but they're here and want to learn more. And so that's really, as a brand, what we were trying to do from the beginning was get more people to hear the truth from Indigenous people and see things through the way we see them, feel things the way we've had to feel them, and understand how these inequity in funding is left such scars and terrible messages for our youth. And how can we change that? And how can you change that together with a group of people showing up to support each other? And that was really what the power of I think what we're trying to build as a community was more of this idea of we want, like, when we give our pink feather, that again is another layer of our branding, right? That we're like building a community that is based on things like love and gratitude. And love, our definition of love at Cheekbone Beauty is doing things for people that can never pay you back. So building a community about people that are about supporting one another without expectation. I feel so many times that when you go into business, you're almost expected, like you feel sometimes, you've ever walked into a store and you feel like they're expecting you to buy something. And we never wanted this Cheekbone Beauty to feel that way. We want you to be here whether you can buy something or not. If you do, that's fantastic, but there's never that expectation whatsoever. And it's part of the reason we created this new filter app on our phone as well. We want people to be able to try on our products and have fun in our community. And you don't have to be here to be buying something. And that's, as a business, that's an opposite of what most businesses are trying to do, because we're here to tell a story. And the story is, our youth matter just as much as every other kid matters in this world. the only way we're going to make them feel that way is by showing their faces, showing them their culture, showing them their people, and showing them their people doing all sorts of things. And, then the next layer of that we found was when we created the Warrior Woman collection. So now we have more role models for our youth from all different industries, not just the entertainment industry, but incredible people like Cindy Blackstock, who is the executive director of the First Nation Child and Family Caring Society, who in and of itself, this woman dedicating how much of her life for the rights of Indigenous kids, and does this with just such grace and passion and that's just one woman. And the list of women in that collection of lipsticks goes on, but it's about just constantly layering the things that you want to build and see in a business into your business, right? And I'm excited to see what you do, because just from your initial conversations of the things how you're raising your daughter and how you're already building the business, and I think it's going to be amazing. So at this, I'm just going to ask, do you have any questions before we jump on to the next part?
I don't think so. No. I think I'm good.
Okay. So yeah, keep working on building the avatar and that character. And you can, is
it weird if the avatar is like me?
Is what? Sorry, you cut out.
I cut out?
Yeah.
I said, is it weird if the avatar is like me? Like, I feel like the pieces that I create are like, like statement pieces, like, like bougie native stuff. Like, I love that.
No, that's amazing. So because you and what you like, and if you're making this stuff for people like you will, and I want to see it. So have you noticed, is your customer the ones buying from you other people like you? Do you feel that now, just with yeah. No, that's a great thing to do, is build it. If that's how you want to build the character, for sure. And that's who you'll attract. And that's how it works. It's like you'll attract who you're building it for. And then you can think about expanding your character in your story, like we had to do. Because remember, like, I'd never owned a business before this. This is my first time was at building this and trying to figure it out. And in the beginning, I'm like, okay, like, how can this ever even make, like, we have a big social cause, but ultimately I wanted to do this as my full-time job, which meant I would have to make enough money to like pay my bills and my mortgage and car payments and all those things. So as you have to think about that customer, and is it going to be enough of those people, right, to fill to check all those boxes? If that's if this wants to become your full-time job, will you be attracting enough of the people like you to sustain your life, right? And so that's just understanding your own personal budgets and figuring that sort of stuff out, so that it doesn't and I'm just saying, if you don't want this to be just a hobby one day, right, where you want to be like, I can make enough jewelry and not undervalue my price, because sometimes I'll find people's beadwork and I can't believe how inexpensive it is when I know the man hours that go into making beadwork. So you don't want to devalue what you're worth either, right? Or giving things away. You want to make sure you're getting what you're worth.
Yeah, that's important to me as well, because it takes a lot of time, as you already know. And that's time that, like, I could be doing different things with my daughter, doing different things that I have to do. So I definitely do, value that time.
Yeah. And just like I always say, price accordingly and add the U tax, meaning what are you worth, and making sure that you're getting everything that you're getting your value. So that was one big key, and it's hard to wrap your mind around, and it takes some time for everybody else who's listening and really thinking about who those avatars are, who your target market is. It's a long process. I can tell you it took us probably 2 years to figure that out and how they connect. And now this is how it works. So we have a system where we know we have our Nikitas who are our Indigenous community, and then they share Cheekbone Beauty, and their community that are their Isabels from their own little communities are then attracted to the Cheekbone Beauty business and will purchase from them as well. So we have this now, this great community of Indigenous and non-Indigenous people that believe in our mission and vision as much as we do, right? And so that took a lot of time to figure that out and how we were going to make it work. And it's, again, we always call this in the world of building, it's like A/B testing. So you're just going to test and see how things work. And but anyway, it's just important to think about who you're making this stuff for, and then that makes it easier for you to if you go back to building the brand assets or the brand deck and product guidebooks and all those sorts of things, it'll all flow together eventually. So anyway, I'm excited to see what you come up with, and so you'll have to keep me posted.
I feel like I do kind of have a pathway that I want to go down, because my daughter, she is Black and Native.
Ooh.
And I really want to like amplify her as a person and being of two races, and being able to, because I have some friends, you know, and they have Black and Native kids, and sometimes like the children are not like accepted, right? And so I feel like I want to like have her as kind of like, you know, like the face of the company, excuse me, and just own like she is Black and Native, you know. She can wear the beadwork, she can, you know, come up with do you know what I mean though? Like I just feel like just changing the way of like how we see Indigenous people, or, you know, First Nations people. It's not like, it doesn't always look like me, or doesn't always look like, you know, the next person who you might consider looks Native. So yeah, that's kind of like what I've been considering and wanting to do.
Super important, and we do that as a brand. We feel that that's really important to us, share all Indigenous faces, and we've even made the mistake. I did this not too long ago where I reposted something, and I was the one who did it. It wasn't anyone from our team. It was actually me who made the mistake, and I felt so bad about it afterwards. But it was like a blonde, fair young woman, and she ended up being Ojibwe and Cree. And I, in the sort of the pre-cap comment before her comment, I had written, oh my goodness, we love our non-Indigenous community members. And that was awful. And I stopped myself and I did some real self-analysis. I'm like, why do we do that? We make that assumption, just
Right.
assumptions based on looks, and we got to stop it as a society, number one, because we don't know anything and everyone just by looking at them, right? We have no idea. And I really feel, and I think I'm understanding your feelings, because our Afro-Indigenous community is there, and they are truly underrepresented. And you know, as much as racism plays a part in the entire world, that's even played a part in a lot in our own communities, and we have to stop. We have to do better as groups of people to begin with. So I love that you're thinking that way, and what a great way to help your daughter through her, which will be another, you know, I don't think my mom thought about my identity issues when I was a little girl, and how they would turn up in my adult life, right? So the fact that moms are thinking about that and helping guide, and yeah, you're an amazing mom. You should be super proud of yourself. But I love that, because it's definitely needed. I'm started to pay more attention and following some Afro-Indigenous groups, and it's like you don't think about it, but when you see an Afro-Indigenous person, we're just seeing a Black person right away and making that assumption, much like I did as a complete false, a big mishap in my own perception of how you see someone. And I'm like, stop doing that. Right. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So the next part then is talking about how we then, so this is all sort of the prep work, right? This is about building a marketing and social media campaign using things like Instagram or Facebook, whichever platform you find yourself to be more successful on. And so now that you have the brand feel and the target customer or customers, you can then begin to create segmentations in the back end of building out ads, or when you think about creating ads or posts on social media, you will then now know what kind of customer to target. So do you know anything about building ads on Instagram or Facebook?
I've looked a little bit into it, but I have not, I haven't done it.
Okay. And that's where you can really begin to play around with this stuff yourself, and it's not super expensive. If you want, you can spend, I think it's like $5 a post or an ad, if you will, and you can find an audience of people. So if you were saying you're looking for the people like yourself to target, you can find keywords within the Facebook ad profile. You can literally pick, I'm wondering if they had the word bougie native there. We don't know. I haven't seen it, but they might have a target for people that like snot-nosed res kids, right? So that could be somebody that falls into that category. So it's incredible what you can do in the back end of building out social media ads. And it's literally from the beginning, that's how Cheekbone built our audience. Is we've been paying for ads probably since 2017. So it's a long time. It goes into your marketing budget. And I mean, small businesses early on, I didn't think about those things, but now that we're bigger, we do. So you create a budget of how much that you want to spend on marketing, and that's where those ad dollars would go. And what that means is, so say, for instance, let's just say you sold $1,000 a month of your beadwork online. They say your marketing budget should be about 12 to 20%. A new smaller business, you're more around the 20% range. So you would be spending, which sounds like a lot, but $200 on ads. So not necessarily have to. You could go in the smaller range of spending about 120. And here's what I honestly did. I sometimes would be spending maybe $5, and testing ads, and then playing around with those target keywords and regions, because you can focus just in Toronto if you want. That's it. You can focus in Canada. You can pick Vancouver, Toronto, and Halifax, if those are the 3 cities that you wanted to focus on. And then, so geographically you can target, you can pick age groups, you can pick gender, or you can pick likes and dislikes. So all of those sorts of things, you can then begin to target the ads to the people that hopefully would see them and fall in. And so what Facebook's job is, and what Instagram's job is to then use their system of algorithms and navigate for you, because you're paying them to get your beadwork in front of the right faces. And that takes a ton of testing and playing with. And then what happens is, when you have a social media campaign, you're going to, just trying to find my notes here, you're going to have like a couple that you create. So you call it there's sort of 2 steps to it. You have these cold ads, right? And you're going to test those and see what kind of results you get from them. So if you get any business or inquiries and actually sell stuff from some of those ads, you'll know which ones were working and which ones won't. And sometimes it comes down to just changing the wording maybe you put in the tagline, right? Like you could use the word I'm trying to be creative right here on the spot, but like something with the word bougie native in the title, right? And like have like a beautiful picture of someone wearing the product, or you could do one of those just product simple laid out white. White is a great background for simple product shots, or do one of that simply like that. So it's entirely up to you, but that's a great way to test. And I suggest small businesses try it and play with it, because it's literally how we built our social media platforms. And we did that all, I did that all by myself and organically, starting out in like 2017 and 18. And I think what building big, I think we had like 20,000 followers on Facebook and like 90 something on Instagram. So it does work, the ads, because you're building your audience and figuring out your community. And it just depends if that's the route for marketing you want to take, because you can just post and try to have a plan with your posts and see if you generate audiences that way. Instagram, people use hashtags to build their community. And then also, if you're just going to use, and you don't want to use any paid ads and you're just trying to build out your social media, one, it's time. I tell everyone I used to spend, about 4 hours a day on social media.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a long 3-4 years where I was doing it myself, where it's like 3-4 hours a day, just connecting, talking to people. And that's what, like, now when I look at Cheekbone Beauty, we're literally in a position where we ask our community what they want us to make. So the next product we're working on is making clean and vegan mascara and eyeliners and eyeshadows, right? All based on talking to our community about it. We know we were focused on lips for so long, and now everyone's wearing masks. So as a business, that's a pivot we weren't thinking about taking, but then COVID happened and we're like, okay, we better make something for the eyes. But getting the feedback and engaging with people on social media, that's where we figured out what people wanted to see and what products they like, and then we can start testing and playing with mascara brands and mascaras that people already like and use, and or eyeshadows and pencils and those sorts of things, right? Just to get a feel, because this is the crazy thing, when you're in marketing, you're like, okay, why would I not make things if I have the ability to do that people like? So for a bead company, you can literally use social media to engage with the customers and ask them questions about what they like in terms of beadwork, and never feel bad about feeling. Sometimes we feel like, oh, you're the maker, so you're the one who has to have all the knowledge and the experience. No, just get vulnerable and share with people, like, I'm thinking about making this. What do you guys think? What do you want to see? Behind the scenes in your stories is like super incredible. People love behind the scenes pictures, and they like to feel like they're a part of it. And also, it's a great algorithm tool that Instagram and Facebook both use to build so the more you're using stories, and now I think with Reels, you'll see your pages grow, because the more you're using the background stuff. So, and people love that. So that's a great spot for you to do stuff with your daughter, both of you making and planning. Like, that is super fun, and share the journey. We've noticed with Cheekbone that people love hearing about the journey and seeing how we get there and have got there. And so we try to share as much and be just open, honest, authentic. When you make mistakes, and I feel like I make tons all the time, messing up protocols and things, and what I shared with you earlier about assuming somebody was non-Indigenous because they had blonde hair and blue eyes, right? Like, so it's just being open about the mistakes you make too, because I think people, they feel more, I think, like they can relate to you when you share your vulnerable self, which isn't always easy. And then it's always important to realize, now you're putting yourself out there, there's going to be haters. So that's just one thing that comes with the territory. So you just gotta build up your skin a little bit, because there's people online, or there's trolls out there. There's just not nice people that are going to say mean things. They're going to DM you mean stuff. It happens all the time to us here, and to me personally. And you just have to be able to handle it. Some days I can, and I'm honest about that. Like I'll like have to take a time out for myself, because when people are cruel, it does hurt. I'm a human being, right?
Right.
Yeah. So unfortunately, it's part of being on social media and using these wonderful platforms to build businesses, but then you're out there. And in the beginning, when I was building Cheekbone, I was always wanted to be just behind the scenes. Like, nobody needs to know it's me. Like, who needs to know? And then the more I realized as I was growing, and if people, they like to know where their stuff's coming from. And that's part of now. In most businesses, people want to know where things are coming from. We've, the COVID has put people in a position where they're really valuing things like health and wellness and supporting small businesses. So you're a small business, when they know the founder and your story about you and your daughter, they'll feel, first of all, like they're doing something good in the world, and then they want to be able to connect with you, right? And that
Right.
does provide a beautiful interchange of encouragement for both parties involved. Like, we love that we get to engage with our customers on that level of feeling like more of a part of their life and being involved in it. And so it not only makes us feel good, we know it makes people feel good. So yeah, just be prepared for the negative stuff, because it will come. And maybe not, it might not, but if it does, you just take deep breaths and it'll pass.
Yes.
And so then once you figure out if you want to do the marketing strategy where you're using ads or just using free options of building out on social media, you just have to decide, or use a combination of both, right? Like, depending on budgets. But I will assure you that spending the ad dollars is what helped our business grow. And there's that old adage, you got to spend money to make money. Is that right? So it does work. It's just about making sure that the right people are seeing your stuff, and collaborations. More than happy to, if you have something that you want us to share on Cheekbone Beauty. Somebody posted a picture the other day with them and their beadwork and shared their story. And so for us as a brand, we prefer the human with the earring versus just a picture of an earring, because we get asked to share just jewelry all the time. And we're really open about saying, look, like, share you, the founder, brand story. You obviously slap on our lipstick and have the earring on, and your jewelry or whatever you're making and creating, and we'll be happy to share it with the world. Because that's what I feel is really part of an important role that we have as a business. We have a platform, and we want more Indigenous small businesses succeeding and thriving. So we're certainly here to share and help do that. But we know also what our community and customers like, and they love reading our stories from our community. So if you share a post and it has you're wearing Cheekbone and your jewelry's in there, and you're sharing something about you and your daughter and your story, I know that would be super engaging, right? And a good way to invite people into your community. It's like that invitation, like, I'm Leslie, this is me, and this is my daughter, and this is what we're building, and this is why I'm doing it. Even just your initial introduction, if that was in a post, I know people would flock to supporting you.
That's one place that I do need to, like, I know that that's one thing that I'm lacking, because I, like you, I want to be behind the scenes, but I know that that's not going to last.
Yeah.
So, I've been knowing that I have to, like, step up that, personal interaction and introducing myself and my daughter, and that's just how I've always been, though, just behind the scenes, getting the work done, but never like in the in the spotlight. But I know it's gonna have to change a little bit,
and that comes with you building. Like, it takes time. It does. It took me about a year before I realized, okay, I'm gonna have to be a bit more vocal about this, and it wasn't easy, but we did it. And you'll get better at it once you start.
It's definitely like a vulnerable spot, because you could say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, and everybody is gonna know it's you.
Oh yes, I've been there. I won't even tell you about my mishap with translating Anishinaabe words.
Oh.
So it's like been there, done that, but you just gotta, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
I always say be humble,
Hmm.
and learn from the mistake and move on,
Right.
and hope most people are super kind and gracious.
Hmm.
They're not all mean, so don't worry too much about it, but it'll come with time. So maybe just to think about now, I'm just trying to have a quick look at our time and I can't see it. Okay, we're still pretty good. Okay, so we've talked about brand development through assets, logos, fonts, colors. And then we talked about our avatars. And then we've talked about targeting the audience that we've created and segmenting them. And now we've talked about the different types of targeting we would do, whether it be through paid ads or through just using social media to try to engage and build our audience that way, which is also very, very helpful. And then that we've had it and done some testing, what you want to do is use something, and I don't know if this is possible unless you have your own website. So as you're building, you can think about now, am I going to just do this on social media or am I going to build my own website? And the beauty of building your website, which isn't hard when you're using a platform like Shopify, it's putting up some pictures, creating some copy, which is just the wording and the language you use, taking all your brand colors and making it that way. And what you then do is the beauty is in the testing, right? And seeing the analytics behind what has happened. So the only way you're going to do that is one, if you have your own website where people are buying from, you will see and be able to use Google Analytics, which is a powerful, powerful tool. It tells you how many people have visited your website every single day. Shopify is also shares those numbers with you. I find Google is the best because you actually can go and see what people are searching for online. People asked us at Cheekbone from the beginning, why did you pick contour palettes, brows, and lipsticks? And the reason in 2015 into 2016 why we chose those products was those are the top 3 Google searched cosmetic items. So using Google Analytics, not only setting up your business on there, but then also using it as a tool to help you figure out what to create and make and what people want is helpful. In your case, it's a little bit different because you're curating some really unique, special, like one of a kind specific pieces, but it'll also help you like seeing what's trending in I think in the world, in the ethos is super important about when you're creating your marketing strategy as well, like being up in front of what's going on in the world. Like you're not gonna during Black Lives Matter just do a regular post about buy my earrings, right? Like that would mean you're being like tone deaf to what's happening in the world around you. So even if some brands, they choose whatever platform or whatever they choose, it's about paying attention to all the details and everything that's happening in the world. So whether that's creating products, making sure your marketing isn't offensive in any way to certain groups of people, like appropriating cultures, there's so many layers to think about, but that also plays a big role in your marketing strategy. So using analytics and all of that back end stuff, really, really important as you grow. So my advice is to try to figure out a way to build on a site like Shopify or Wix or WooCommerce or one of those. Generally, I think Shopify's is $29 a month US, and that is a really inexpensive cost to have a place where people can go buy your stuff all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that'll alleviate any of all the work that you have to do about DMing people and picking up and shipping. They're literally going to go on that site, pick the product and the picture of the item that you've made. They're going to purchase it. They're going to input all their own information. And then you're going to even be able to like use Canada Post or whatever postal system and print the label and ship it. And be done with it. Whereas I think there's a lot of legwork involved in the DMing back and forth and transferring, like they're going to pay you through that site, right? So you don't even have to worry about the funds transfer thing on any of that sort of stuff. So it's just something to think about. And I think if you want this to grow, it's a good idea to have your own website, and it will also you'll be able to track with the analytics and the numbers and see who's interested in your stuff and why they're interested. And that's really the fun part of marketing something, is like figuring out who's liking your stuff. And you may be surprised that we have the whole world is interested in supporting like the BIPOC community, right? Like we've found there's been a huge increase in our business at Cheekbone Beauty because of movements like Black Lives Matter, and people are starting to pay attention and wanting to support smaller businesses and businesses that exist for good reasons, right? And have good stories behind them. So I think that you will see, and that website again is another place where you can write your story, tell the story about you and your daughter, and share her story and how you're helping her to grow and create her own economic safety and security for her future. And then you will see people connect to that, and you'll be surprised, when you think that you're building this just for you, but you'll be surprised. Like sometimes I'm blown away at some of the customers. Like we had an email from a woman the other day, and I think she was like 90. And she's just like, I'm buying your lipstick because I saw it on Dragon's Den, and I want to do whatever I can to support Indigenous businesses. So you may be surprised that even though you're targeting, remember, for the bougie native like you, but you may be attracting so many other kinds of people to the brand that you're building as well.
Yeah, I definitely see the importance of having a website. But I also enjoy not having like sales through a website, because you, as like a small business, you do get to, interact with people who are buying the jewelry. And so I really enjoy that part. Like having little conversations about different things, and, I enjoy that part. And I feel like if we sold through a website, it would take away a little bit of like the interaction with the people who are following us. So maybe it's like a combination where maybe we have like Instagram sales where we can interact.
Nope, there you are. You're back. But I heard you where you said maybe doing a mix of some on Instagram so you can still have that engagement and connection, and a website, which is the perfect answer, by the way, because you never want to lose that engagement at all, because that's what's creating your community, the people that you're attracting to your brand. So that's super important. So awesome. So I am really super excited to see everything that you're going to come up with after this call. Not that you have to start today. I'm just kidding. Yeah. So and then that's where you just figure out what kind, because marketing is such a broad, like there's so much involved, but I wanted to really focus in obviously on the digital space, because I know that that's where your business was. And then you can decide from building up how you're going to build, and using maybe some paid ads, testing it out, and continuing to plan. There's some incredible apps where we use. There's one we're using called LiveScale, which is almost like if you think of the home shopping channel, but it is actually on a live platform. That's their platform, LiveScale. It connects to a Shopify store. But what happens when you're talking about the beadwork? So you could be literally telling the back end story, how you made the beadwork, why you made it, the meaning behind it for you. And you can literally spend 20 minutes. And then what happens is the customer would be able to purchase. Say you had 3 pieces that you've completed, and on this live event, and in a COVID world, this app has become really popular because people are acting differently. We don't go out and shop anymore. We are looking online for all of our purchases. And so you could literally have at the bottom of the screen, you're going to have 3 pieces or whatever you've made, and you can talk about each, and then they'll all have their price. And what people can do is they click right on the live. So it's separate from Instagram Live. You're doing a live on this platform called Live Scale, but you promote it through your Instagram page. And then you hopefully get enough audience there where and you can sort of pre-build it up, which I love. Pre-build the story. So for like a week, we're doing a live. The link will be in the bio, the links in our bio, the links in our bio, links in our story. This is the live. We're going to talk about these 3 pieces that now you've been, and this is your campaign I'm building for you in out right now. So behind the scenes for like the last few months, you've been sharing pictures of this thing that you're making, and you're telling people why you're making it and how your daughter's involved and what you guys have done together. And then the week before this live, you're going to start sneak peeks of the pictures of these items, and nobody's allowed to touch them. Nope. Then you get to use it doesn't cost any money per month to have LiveScale as the app on your Shopify store. All they do is take 7% of the sales on the night you sell it. But what you can do is now you can really, let's go back to getting the value you're worth of a product. So you got 3 items up that you made, and I'm throwing this out there. Each, say this set costs $300, this one is $250, this one is $350. You have 3 items there. And now on the live, you're talking about them and sharing more about the story. And in that 20, 30 minutes, if those 3 items sold, that was just like a powerful marketing campaign that you created. And you can, and then recreate that and do it again with the next 3, 4 items. And you really build up this rapport and engagement with your online community from the Instagram page. Then this translates to the website. And so that's only one app to use. Another great suggestion for makers and beaters is, I love the idea of shared experiences, especially in this post-COVID world that we're living in, or in COVID world we're living in. And that means creating, I've never seen anyone teach beadwork. And I think it would be a beautiful idea if businesses could maybe send, almost like the idea of a box or gift box that you pre-send, say you're going to do this for the holiday season. This will be your next marketing campaign after you do that one. And you sort of plan out your year, right, in advance, that you have all of these campaigns planned. And then how much, once you've done this, then generally you'll have that, what it's called a forecast of how much money you're making and getting and receiving from each event or each thing. So the holiday event could be, you go to, is it John's Beads in Toronto where everyone gets beads, right?
That's one of them, yeah.
Okay. I'm like, where's the bead place in Toronto? So say you pre-create something simple to teach now your community, your engaged community. They're not going to be an expert like you. Remember that. You're the expert. You're the one that makes the beautifully crafted stuff. But now you're inviting them to be a part of the experience. So another wonderful campaign would be, you're going to put together these gift boxes. You're going to ship them out like 3 weeks before the holiday event. Let's say it's for the holidays. Before the holiday event, you're going to teach, say you sell, and let's be like proactive here. You're going to use your Instagram to sell 100 of these gift boxes, and you're going to sell them at a price of like $100 each. But what you're just putting together is maybe a little baggie with some beads, the tools that they would need, and you cover your costs. You make sure all the costs are covered. You ship them, and then you have this interactive live event. And you could do it on Instagram Live. You could do it on Zoom Live. There's Google Hangouts. There's so many different ways to do live events right now, where you're actually sitting with your community and you're showing them how to make something, like, think of something super simple. You're the beater, you're the expert, that you could teach them to make for themselves for the holidays, right? So these are just ideas I'm giving you, and that's one project that I've shared with a few other brands right now, of ways to engage your community and build out your audience. And you just keep thinking of your year. This is how it's in quarters. So each quarter, just start with a quarter. This is the type of event we're going to do to be super engaging. Then the next quarter, we're going to do this type of event, and then sort of just think about them and pre-plan them, and you'll be well on your way to have like a ton of amazing marketing campaigns.
Great idea.
And build your community. And I think that is going to be just super successful when you engage and start to share your story with your audience.
Yeah, that's I've never like really thought about that, but that's a really great idea to have more like interaction. And yeah.
And then you could take that from, so if say you get them and you sell those 100 and there's 100 people at that event, and you could start smaller if you want, whatever you're comfortable with, and then make sure you are profitable though. You want this to be like, you've shipped them, you want to need to make money on that shipment, and then you want to make sure, so that shipment's going to include their ticket to that live event to make it with you, right? Mm-hmm. So that's like it's a whole event thing. So that one, say I'm saying 100, it could be more, is that whole experience with you. And then you collaborate with, other brands to promote the event for you and that sort of thing as well. But those are just ways to engage and build the community. And you want to build a core community of people who want, are sort of, they'll join you and they're here for you and want to support you. And that's the way we grow like community grown businesses. I think that it's powerful, and shared experiences is something, it's lacking in the world in general. And COVID has forced us all to slow down and think about that and really try to connect better with other humans. Yeah,
for sure.
I love it. Now you got to go do it. Yeah. And you could those, there's, the resources, you've used Canva, you have Vistaprint. There's all kinds of ways, and start looking at, ways to grab some funding too. Like Powwow Pitch is one that's out, and she's doing, I don't know if they're done or started, but start paying attention online to ways you can grab yourself some grant money to help build this business. Cause I feel like you're onto something really special.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to look into that.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't think I have any questions. I just have like a lot of ideas that I want to do now.
Yeah, awesome. So you have my email. Feel free to follow up. If you need like a second opinion on something, feel free to ask. Not that I would know, because remember, you're the expert in this bead world, so that's your role. But if you have questions about anything else, you have my personal email. You can reach out to me anytime, and in an email, follow up and send me your shipping address, because I want to send you some Cheekbone stuff. Okay. Yeah. That's nice. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm hoping that they can edit this so they I'm sure they will get rid of all of our freeze ups and our blurps.
We did the best we could.
We did. Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time, and just sharing all of your knowledge and all of your experiences. I'm really I'm excited. I've been wanting to branch out of just beadwork, and I've wanted to do focus on my daughter, because she has a lot of friends who are also Black and Indigenous, and I wanted to have a t-shirt kind of business where maybe we take pictures of her and her friends and get someone to draw them and then put it on t-shirts, just so she and her friends are represented, and she's gonna feel so cool she's on a t-shirt.
That's amazing. I think it's a great idea. And there's a term, it's becoming where your bead brand becomes a lifestyle brand, right? So you're layering, whether you start with a t-shirt, maybe add tote bags or water bottles, whatever. And these are ways that just creates revenue. So, it's not like you have to carry tons of inventory, just little bits at a time, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I love it.
And also, like when you say like the lifestyle brand, lately I've also been feeling like I need to start showing plants and like more of my life, because I don't know, ever since like COVID, I've just been like buying so many plants. And now that I think about it, I'm like, original seed beads, I'm like, it was always meant to be like, you know,
Totally.
plants and beads.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah. And incorporate, like when we talked about planning out your social posts, plan a plant post every like 20 posts or 10 or set, however many you decide. But those are important to you. And the story of a seed and just sharing little
Yeah.
bits about that. I think those are like the inspirational things that we all need to hear. I don't care what anyone says. I know people are like, I hate the inspirational stuff. I'm like, we all need it every once in a while. Maybe not every day, but a little positive
Yeah.
messaging doesn't hurt anyone. So for sure, add that in there. I love it.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I will.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Enjoy the long weekend.
You too.
Okay, talk soon. Bye.